Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into some pretty mind-bending stuff today, exploring this idea of infinity.
Yeah, definitely heady stuff.
So we're looking at excerpts from a book called The New True Infinity by this guy, Peter Francis Dziuban. Have you ever really thought about infinity, like what it actually means?
All the time.
Well, Dubin says we're kind of missing the point. Like, we picture infinity as this huge, never-ending thing.
Right, just going on and on forever.
But he says that's not the whole picture.
Not even close.
So what is infinity then? According to Dziuban, I mean.
Well, he calls it a state of pure being, something totally beyond limits like space and time don't even apply. Absolutely measureless, he says.
Okay, so not just counting forever? 1, 2, 3?
So it's not about quantity at all. It's more like a quality of existence, existing in the purest sense.
Pure being. All right, this is where I start to get a little lost. So he's saying that everything we experience, like all the stuff happening in time, that's not really being.
You got it. He calls it non-being, but he doesn't mean nothing exists. It's more that everything's constantly changing, so it's never really fully present, you know.
So like my thoughts, my feelings, even this conversation we're having right now, it's all just kind of flickering in and out of existence.
Exactly. Dziuban uses this analogy of a movie projector. Each frame is there for a split second, then poof, it's gone, replaced by the next one. Never truly is in a timeless sense.
Whoa, okay. So then even the whole universe, stars, planets, everything, it's just constantly in this state of flux, never truly being.
That's what Dziuban's getting at. He says the only thing that's truly present in that pure sense is being itself. Timeless, formless, the ground of everything.
Wait, so there's this whole other level of reality underneath everything we see and experience, like a foundation that doesn't change.
You could say that, and that raises some really big questions. If being is timeless and all this change, this time stuff is non-being, what does that mean about everything we experience? Our whole lives, basically.
You're saying it's all not real? Or not real in the same way that this being is? My head's spinning a little bit.
I know, it's a big concept to wrap your mind around. Dziuban basically says that time can't exist inside of being. Time means moving away from the present moment, right? But true being is pure presence. No past, no future, just is.
But if this being has no form, no time, how can we even understand it? It's like trying to grab smoke or something.
That's the paradox Dziuban points out. We need time and words, these limited things, to even talk about it. Our minds are kind of stuck in time mode.
So are we just trapped then in this world of non-being?
Well, Dziuban says that even though our minds are limited, there's a part of us beyond the thinking mind, a part that can connect with this pure being. It's why, even though it sounds paradoxical, the idea of timelessness can resonate with us.
So we're not just our thoughts or feelings, all that stuff. There's something more.
That's what he suggests.
Yeah.
And it's not all just philosophy either. He brings in ideas from science, like Gödel's incompleteness theorem.
I always struggle with that one. Something about math and...
Right, it's complex, but basically it shows that there are truths in mathematics that can't be proven within the system itself, meaning our logic has limits.
Okay, I think I get that part. So what's that got to do with being?
Well, Dziuban uses it to point out that maybe being is one of those things that we can't necessarily prove scientifically.
But it could still be real.
Exactly. He says it's a fundamental truth, even if it's outside the realm of what we can measure or observe in the usual way.
So being is this formless, timeless, unprovable thing. How do we even begin to explore it?
That's a good question. Dziuban doesn't give us like a step-by-step guide, but he's clear that being is not like our thoughts or feelings. It can't be reduced to data points.
I'm with you on that.
It's the very ground of existence, he says. It comes before any form or measurement.
Wow. But if we're always stuck in this flow of time and form, how do we connect with something that's beyond all that?
Well, that's something for each of us to figure out, isn't it? Dziuban says a part of us already is being. Maybe the key is to quiet down all that mental chatter and tap into that deeper level, you know?
I guess it makes sense. If we're looking for reality in all the wrong places, focused on the forms and changes.
Right. Maybe the real reality is formless.
I think I need a minute to process all this.
Yeah.
Like you just blew my mind wide open.
Yeah, it definitely challenges the way we usually think about things.
Yeah.
But think about the implications. What if understanding being could change how we see the universe, ourselves, our purpose?
That's a lot to unpack. but I'm definitely hooked. So where do we go from here?
It really does make you question everything, doesn't it?
Totally. Like, whoa, maybe we've been looking at reality all wrong this whole time. But if the universe is like part of this flow of non-being, does that mean it's not real at all?
Zubin wouldn't say not real, more like
Yeah.
not ultimately real, in the same way that being is, anyway.
Okay, I'm trying to follow you here. So the universe.
Imagine it as like a manifestation of this pure being, a constantly changing expression of something deeper.
So it's real, but it's not the whole story.
Right.
Huh. Kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it? This whole vast universe, stars, galaxies, just a ripple on the surface of something way bigger.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so cool about Dziuban's perspective. It expands our sense of wonder,
Yeah.
but also makes us question our assumptions about what's important.
That makes me think about meaning. Like, we search for meaning in our lives, right? Our achievements, relationships, all that. But if those are all temporary, part of this flow of non-being, where does that leave us?
Yeah, that's a huge question. If it's not ultimately real, does it even matter?
Right. Like, what's the point if it's all just going to disappear eventually?
Well, Dziuban doesn't say life is meaningless. He just thinks we're looking for meaning in the wrong places.
So not in the stuff that comes and goes.
He says, what if, because reality is grounded in this timeless being, the real search for meaning? It has to be inward, connecting with that deeper part of ourselves.
Oh, interesting. So instead of chasing like external achievements,
Maybe it's about tapping into the timeless essence that's already there, inside us.
that's a pretty radical shift in thinking. But there's something kind of freeing about it too.
I agree. It opens us up to a whole new way of being in the world, a more meaningful existence that's not so tied to the material world.
I remember you mentioned that Dziuban brings in some ideas from science to support his arguments. What was that about Gödel's?
Gödel's incompleteness theorem.
Yeah, that one. Something about there are truths that can't be proven.
Exactly. It shows that even in mathematics, there are limits to what we can know through logic alone.
So some things are just beyond the reach of our rational minds.
Right. And Dziuban says maybe being is one of those things. We can't necessarily prove it scientifically.
But it could still be the most fundamental truth there is.
Exactly. He's not saying science is wrong. He's just pointing out that there might be more to reality than what we can observe and measure.
So if being is this formless, unprovable thing, how the heck do we connect with it?
Good question. Dziuban doesn't lay out a clear path, but he does point us in a certain direction.
Oh.
He says we need to recognize the limitations of our thinking. Like, we're so used to thinking in terms of time and form.
We try to grasp everything with our minds.
Right. But maybe there are other ways of knowing, beyond logic and data.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe being can't be grasped. It has to be experienced.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So it's less about acquiring knowledge.
It's more about a shift in perspective,
Yeah.
a way of being in the world that's more open to something greater than ourselves.
It makes me think about how often I get caught up in my own little world, you know? Worrying about the future, dwelling on the past, forgetting to just be here now.
I know, me too. But what if that's the key? What if being present, really present, is the way to connect with this deeper reality?
Whoa. Like, what if all the answers we've been searching for have been right here all along? We're just too busy thinking to notice.
Maybe Dziuban is inviting us to quiet our minds and just be open to the mystery.
It's a little scary, honestly, like stepping into the unknown, but also exciting.
It's a leap of faith, but not a blind leap.
It's a trust in something bigger than ourselves. It does feel kind of like jumping off a cliff, you know? But with a parachute, you hope will open.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's about trusting that there's something more, even if we can't fully grasp it.
So, practically speaking, how does this change things? If being is really the ground of reality, how should we live our lives differently?
Well, I think it starts with awareness, being more present, appreciating each moment, knowing that it's precious, a fleeting expression of something eternal.
That makes me think about our relationships. Like, if we're all connected to this deeper level of being, maybe there's more to our relationships than we realize.
I think so. It makes you look past all the surface stuff, you know, the personality quirks, the differences, and see that spark of being that connects us all.
That could really change things, couldn't it? More compassion, more understanding, a sense of unity.
Exactly. Zubin's message is ultimately about that. We're not isolated individuals, you know, just caught in this flow of time. We're expressions of something much bigger, something that unites us all.
That's a powerful message, especially these days when everything feels so divided. But okay, I have to ask, how do we even tap into this being thing? Zubin doesn't give us a map or anything.
He doesn't, does he? But he does point us in a direction.
Like what?
Well, he talks about how our thinking is so limited, right? We're so used to logic, data,
We want to figure everything out with our minds.
and he's saying, maybe that's not the way. Maybe there are other ways of knowing, beyond the limits of our thinking.
So like what? Intuition? Direct experience?
Possibly. He also says that being might be a lot closer than we think. Not something separate from us, but the very ground of our existence.
It's like we're swimming in an ocean of being, but we're so focused on the waves, we don't even realize how deep it goes.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So how do we dive deeper? How do we get past all that surface stuff and connect with the depths? Is it meditation? Contemplation?
I think that's something each of us has to discover for ourselves. There's no one right answer.
So a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah, an exploration into the mystery of being.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. I'm still processing everything, but Dziuban's ideas have definitely given me a whole new perspective on, well, everything.
Me too. It's been great exploring this with you.
And to everyone listening, we hope this conversation has sparked something for you, made you think about things a little differently. If you're curious about Dziuban's work, we'll include a link in the show notes. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. What possibilities open up for you when you consider that reality might be grounded in this timeless being? What if you could actually experience this being, not just think about it? How might that change your life, your relationships, your understanding of the world? We encourage you to explore these questions for yourself. Until next time, keep diving deep.